We are live.
Yeah.
Again.
Hello, everybody. This is not an Apple Treats podcast episode. This is actually the mobile people community reviewing WWDC22. Hello, Vladimir.
Hello, Dennis.
Okay, so while this is not a podcast episode, and this probably will look almost the same as it is, for all of you who are listening us live, please use YouTube's chat as a way of asking questions, and let us briefly discuss what we will do now. We are going to review the WWDC event itself and all the announcements which we consider important, because there were a lot of announcements this time, and I think we will pick a couple of those. We have something on the list which we will be discussing, but I'm not sure we will cover all of even of our own list, and we will definitely not be able to cover all the sessions which were hosted this week.
But let's try, because finally Apple remembered that they have developers, and brought us a lot of interesting stuff.
I would like to mention that this time they also brought on-site event, and in this particular case, yes, exactly. So this time it was not just like the offline event, but it was like purely on-site. So the event happened in Apple Park, and I was lucky enough to attend that particular event, and it was nice. I would say that, like, those of you who were watching the sessions and the keynote and the State of the Union streaming, you didn't lose any of the information. Everything which were streamed, we were basically seeing on the big screen, and so like there were no other sessions happening there. There were a couple of things, like we were able to talk to the teams, we were able to discuss some of the topics with the engineering and the design teams of Apple, and there were a couple of tours across the ring building and like across the Apple Park itself. And yeah, we were able to eat cherries and other berries which were grown at the Apple Park itself. So they
So you're infected now. So you're a licensed Apple fan.
I would like to mention though that there are no something special, at least like to my taste. There were like regular cherries, and there were no
regular California cherries.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, like enough with that. I think.
By the way, wait, one second. Do you see this old T-shirt?
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So one more thing. So there were T-shirts there, and there were. They also gave us the baseball hats. I'm not wearing it right now here, but like, trust me, it's fun. And it's in California, you probably need to have one at least, or maybe multiple of those. But like, let me mention one thing.
Apple hats. Otherwise, people won't talk with you.
They're Swift hats, so it's like even better. I mean, like they're good. So one thing they were able to show us was the Apple Development Center, which is situated next to the Apple Park. So it's a building where Apple will invite the developers to show them new technologies, to help them with the new applications, and many other things. That's an interesting topic, because they said they will be announcing some events happening there, and they will be inviting developers to Apple Developer Center in the near future. So they didn't say how exactly they will be inviting and who will be invited there, but they basically said, like, just keep an eye on the Apple Developer app. There will be something there. So if you are close to California, or you are able to have a business trip here, like, keep in mind that this might be an option soon. And since the offline events are like getting back to business with all of this, so there might be something happening there.
Okay, stop talking about California stuff.
Yes, let's talk about some development stuff. I agree. That's something we need to do. What should we start with? Xcode Cloud?
Yeah, why not? So Apple announced, finally released. So it was in beta. Do I remember right?
Yeah,
So so now on the day of event, they said it's finally available right now, but only as far as I understand with Xcode 14 or not? Or it has backport compatibility with Xcode 13?
No, I believe you can use on the previous Xcode, but the thing is that as of now, they not just published it to the release part, but also shown the prices there, right? So we can just check the price, and I basically can open it right now. It's $15
so
a month.
25 hours.
Yeah,
it's crazy, totally crazy.
Right, exactly. So you will need Xcode 13.4.1 in order to use Xcode Cloud. But 25 hours, I'm not sure that's like good enough. There are tiers with $45 per 100 hours a month, and like a couple of more. But you actually have almost like 1.5 years of free service until the end of 2023, and that will include 25 hours per month for you. So it's this is something you will be able to use right now in order to understand if that's enough or not.
I hope that they use M1 servers there, so applications will compile very, very fast. So we can do a lot of iterations within these 25 hours.
Yeah, and I think you need to like make sure you work good enough in order to optimize the build process itself on your own before submitting it there, so you don't do any time-consuming things too much. Well, build time optimization is also an option here, and so just make sure that you are comfortable. Spend some time with these particular free limits right now, so you will be able to understand if that's 25 hours is good enough or not. So I don't think you need to submit every build you do to the Xcode Cloud. You probably might like limit yourself to like a couple builds a day, depending on how big are your builds. But like if we look into that, so it's like we can consider it's something like 1 hour of CPU time per day, something like that, and so that might include a couple of builds and tests run there, right?
Yeah. Have you ever used previous version of this thing, like Xcode Server?
Not yet. We were actually given the beta, but there were no opportunity for us to run through that. And
I know. So you're talking about Xcode Cloud, but I'm talking about Xcode Server.
Yeah, Xcode Server. By the way, it's officially gone right now. So,
yeah.
So we and Xcode Server, I tried to set it up and it almost worked. There were a couple of things happening here and there, and overall, I don't know if we need to talk about it right now. So it's gone, and it's it was good enough for the time being, but as of now, it's something we need to forget.
By the way, talking about Xcode Cloud, we should mention Swift Playground 4. So
right.
Do you use it for something?
I tried it, and it works okay. I did not use it for anything meaningful right now, but it seems that it gets more and more attention from Apple. So they even had a session like how to do your app entirely on iPad. There were a couple of problems with migrating Swift Playground apps from iPad to the Mac, and they are now more or less solved as far as I can see. But I think that might be a good start to like for those who are interested in development and they have iPad only. That's a good start. But you will need the keyboard. Like just make sure that you will not be using on-screen keyboard for the development. Like that experience will absolutely terrible.
Yeah, but keyboard for iPad Pro and iPad Air is so cool. Yeah, it's so cool.
That's true. That's true. So, just to having that, I have one of these here, and I'm using it constantly in addition to my Mac because it's because of Teams mostly. it runs a little bit less sluggish on iPad rather than it does on the Mac, even on the M1 Macs as well. Okay. So enough of that. I mean, let's focus on the interesting topics. And since we have a lot of them, let's start with the foundation for our development. So let's talk about Swift. And again, for all those of you who are listening and watching, just don't be shy, ask your questions or share your feedback to the YouTube chat. We will go through that, go through your questions, and maybe discuss your feedback as well. It should be like two-way conversation, I think. So Swift 5.7, and we now have a lot of stuff happening there. I'm not sure what we should start with, and should we start with all those some, any, and other interesting keywords we were giving by the Swift team?
Yeah. So I followed this topic for a while, because it was in Swift Evolution in review for some time, and they're getting closer to my favorite Rust, but they're doing pretty good stuff with this. So now using protocols for your work is much more easier and understandable.
Yeah, especially when you deal with generics. And we do not have generic protocols. We have protocols with associated types. And currently, there were, each time you designed your protocol and you had to add associated type to the protocol, you got a lot of problems when you wanted to, for example, to have arrays of these kind of objects, and you had a lot of stuff happening about that. So now they are all simplified with new any and previous some keyword, but now some keyword could be used in some more contexts. And there is a great session, a couple of sessions there, so by Holibor and by the Slava Pestov. And I would also like to mention that if you're looking for the guys who, if you're looking to the Swift team, you might know that Slava Pestov is the guy who is usually on Twitter handling his animals on his farm. And the talk he presented, he done that talk in the suit. That was really interesting to see this transformation of the person. But the talk itself, by the way, is really provides simple and consistent explanation on what's the purpose of any keyword and what's happened with the some keyword, how it can be used, and how to use those in order to make your protocol designs better. So these are actually really great. So let's just take a look on the protocol related sessions on WWDC22.
Try to rewrite your API clients.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions, but we will answer those, especially on the Swift UI. That's one of the topics we will cover a little bit later, and probably with the UI kit as well. We noted those questions. We will answer them a little bit later. Another thing which was introduced to Swift is regex. And some of
first-class citizen regex.
Yeah, some of us remember Perl, which was an actual programming languages, which many of people consider it like write once, read never language. So you will probably never understand what this particular Perl script can do. And the regular expressions happening, coming from that age, I would say. And now we do have the not just the regex, which you can write with all that syntax and basically never understand what's happening there. But you have a specific domain-specific language which can describe your expression quite expressively.
Don't you think it's too easy? because it's a true power of true engineer to write a proper regex.
Yeah, but by the way, you can mix and match those. So you can write, like, if you have something which you can easily express with these cryptic strings with slashes, you can use those inside your like regular expression defined by this new syntax, like capture, like one or many, or like these all expressive keywords. So you can mix and match those, and you can also refactor your regex string, which is like, you probably can't understand what it's doing. You can refactor that into domain-specific language and try to understand what's actually happening there. And the refactoring is not that like will not provide you full understanding. It might refactor something in a not in the way you would like to. So you might need to apply some modifications there.
Dennis, what is plural for regex?
Yeah, let's show that. I mean, that's true. Yes, exactly. So there was a great saying, like, I had a problem, so I decided to add a regular expression there, and now I have two problems. Exactly, that's true.
But so it's wonderful that regex is so it's part of compilers, I understand, because when you type like first match, and if you have several capture groups, it returns a result with multiple values. So, and this is mind-blowing. So finally, it's not like an array where you can, oh, I need to choose these 0, 1, 2, 3 by index. No. You have just native support of this in the language. And this is much more impressive rather than just these regex builders for me.
Yeah, and by the way, the results are named, so you can like capture groups, you can assign names to them. It's like you use them as you said, it's at first class citizens of the language, and I think we will see more and more like checking using these regex implementation later on. Again, if you're interested, just take a look on the sessions. They have quite good examples, like from simple to sophisticated uses of this particular framework, or language feature. Like we can, it's a part of the core Swift libraries.
So it's time to ask on interviews to write regex with a regex builder instead of usual.
Yeah, well, at least, I think we can like start to ask these and not be like looked at with angry eyes. So it's something you can start understanding regex right now, like without getting into all the details of the syntax. So it's quite good from my perspective. It's really lowers the bar to use regex in your code right now. So it's a good addition to the framework, and I think that might revive the technology for the developers.
Okay, now we're getting back to topic that we discussed a year ago: distributed actors again.
Right. That's actually an interesting topic, because the Apple now more and more talks about Swift being universal language, in terms of it's not just a language to write your iOS application, but it's also language which can run on the server. And distributed actors is something which will allow you simplify your communication between your app and some app running on another device. It could be another iOS device, it could be another Mac, or it could be something running on the server. And interestingly, it's not a framework per se. So it's not something which you add to the project and like call connect to that server, like send something. You use the actors, like classes, class actors. They are considered classes, let's put it that way, as you would use any actor in your app.
You just had this distributed keyword, and that's as they said, that's it. Yeah.
You can define your own transport layer. That's also an option, but they provide the default implementation, let's put it that way. And that simplifies the design and development of the distributed applications. So your algorithm is no longer bound to your like scope or external scope. There is no difference from the language perspective, and that
so you're developing a service.
Yeah. Exactly. That's just perfect from my perspective, that you don't need to think about that. You just think about your algorithm. And if some of that now runs on another machine, well, okay, that also happens. Or it can run on another process. If you, for example, use Mac and you have multiple processes running, you can split the applications into parts, and that will be fine. And
so we need now Swift to have a stable version of WebAssembly support, and we can call ourselves full stack developers.
Right. And by the way, there are a couple of projects running there. So the Swift WebAssembly is something happening right now, and there are a lot of great community developers who are working on that. And like, to make one shameless plug here, we also invited Max Desatov to the Apple Trees podcast to discuss especially that particular topic. It was a couple of months ago. You probably can look for that episode on the YouTube channel or any other means. So yes, I think it's real. We are really close to the moment when we can call Swift as like full stack language, and like we can call the developers full stack developers, like really, really close. And that's actually a reality. We might need probably some beta support on the server, but Amazon is already there. Is there. We have Swift SDKs for Amazon services, and we have quite good support for the quite good support for our Linux, basically. So you can. It's also like first-class language, first-class environment for Swift right now. So the builds are there.
Yeah. I tried this recently to build a CLI app, and it works simply. So there are two Docker images, one for building, one for running with the runtime libraries only, and it works. Simply works. Of course, yeah, you cannot use your Apple frameworks, many of them, but still you have access to standard library and concurrency and other stuff. So it's pretty cool.
One more thing which is related to Swift itself is the Swift Package Manager. So the package manager was initially started as something like to manage the dependencies on your Swift project, but it grows quite fast. I mean, the improvements which are done on the SPM are significant, and I believe it evolves even faster than the language itself. So there were initially problems with the resources. They are solved now. There were problems with something else, like external tooling, or like building executables. They were solved now. So now we have plugins. What do you think?
That sounds awesome, because I really like extending my CLI tools, Git and other, and I have now a lot of ideas how we can improve our build process by adding new either command plugins or build plugins, and I'm really excited by this. And finally, SPM. But I believe it's also because it's fully open source, and I see that there are a lot of people who are participating in this project outside of Apple, and they're committing, and this is pretty cool.
So, yeah, and the support for the plugins is now in Xcode as well. So you can run build. There are build plugins, and there are like just plugins which you can run against your code base, and that those plugins, for example, can run, I don't know, prettifying of your source code. You can like rearrange imports, or like anything you would typically do with a script. Now you can do through like native Swift package manager plugin. Again, there are sessions on that. Take a look if you're interested. And I also think there will be a lot of attention from the community. There will be a couple of plugins happening here and there, which you will be able to simply add to your project, which will fix, like, I don't know, like using some code generation using the plugin might be a little bit more native way of doing that. It will not replace your like Xcode Gen or Swift Gen or any instantly, but they will like gradually fade away in favor of plugins. I think that's the future. They will migrate to the plugins themselves.
both Sorcery and Swift again and other, they usually divide their projects into multiple frameworks. So you can. So I believe that they will soon release some plugins.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
will use
That
power
will be as a
of
plugin.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that sounds really awesome.
Yeah, another thing I would like to mention, there were a lot of attention to the performance, and so they worked even on the linker, which is something like you wouldn't think of something which needs attention, but Apple actually spent some attention on making even the linker working better. Do you want to share anything? I mean, I believe you have something to say about this.
Yeah. I remember that they announced something about improvements in App Store, especially in linking, back in iOS 15. So how they started the app, so they just like pre-warming application, loading some of its code into memory before it's really run. But now they're promising something more. So first, they're promising that the linking process itself should work faster. And from the other side, it works much faster when loading dynamic libraries, like so-called frameworks, on the App Store. So that's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah. So for most of this, you don't have to do anything. It should just work better and faster and everything. But keep in mind that there are sessions speaking about that, and there are a couple of recommendations on how you can play your role in making your app run faster and being smaller in the bundle at the same time. So just keep an eye on those sessions. Okay, I think we need to switch to another topic, which was like there were a lot of attention on the WWDC itself and after in the Twitter in regards to the Swift UI, and those are like could be summed up by this particular question. So is UIKit and AppKit or like are they dead or not? So let me clarify one thing. So Apple mentioned that Swift UI is now preferred way of creating the applications for Apple platforms. That's their statement right now. So they basically said that time has come to consider Swift UI as the main tool for the developers.
So it's 4 years now. It's really time.
Yeah, it actually is. And let's put it that way. It might not be sufficient for everything, and you still need to use UIKit or AppKit for some of the controls. But we will go through the changes in the Swift UI right now. There is something happening there, and this something is just amazing from my perspective. A couple of things which are truly amazing, and a couple of them just nice additions. Let's put it that way. But it's still a good question if we should use now Swift only. The problem is that the Swift UI is bundled with the operating system, and therefore you are limited with the features of your operating system. If you target all the iOS releases or all the macOS releases, you are limited by the Swift UI bundled with that system. So if we look into something which is available in the Swift UI in the iOS 16, that's great. That's something which like truly amazes me. But if you need to target previous releases, you are limited with the ability of that particular platform. So overall, Swift UI is great for your applications, but you need to consider like all the platform support. So probably the answer to is UIKit dead? Not yet.
Not yet. Objective-C is not dead yet. So now you're talking about that Swift UI. Okay, yeah, it's dead. Okay, I'm joking.
Yes.
By the way, so could you share some details on what's they done with this new navigation API? Because I look at this very, very slightly.
Right. So navigation view is now deprecated for the framework, which is like just well, we still consider it as a young framework deprecation. That's weird. So they now allow you to control the path of the navigation. That's probably the main thing here. So you can set the whole navigation stack as simply as an array of identifiers, and you can provide your function which will map this identifier to the specific view which should be shown in the navigation stack. And what happens is that you will be able to get the so you will, for example, you can get your deep link and map it directly to the navigation stack, and that works. Or you can set this array like as you wish. For example, exclude a couple of the things from the middle or append something. It will apply to the navigation. And as I understand, they re-implemented something of that programmatic navigation internally, so it now works better. Because previously you were able still, like in your view, you could have a navigation link, which you can trigger by setting some property. But it wasn't working if you wanted to make the navigation, for example, like add a couple of the controllers to the stack, like when you restore the state of your controllers, or you are trying to navigate to the deep link. Because when you navigate to the deep link, you probably want, I don't know, your main page, then there is a product list, then you go to product details and something else. That's typical flow. And you want to have these intermediate controllers or views in the navigation stack. So now it's possible, and it's easy, and it's quite expressive in terms of the development language. So it's something which you can do easily in having your just properly designed code for the deep linking, for the state restoration, and for your like basic navigation actions. That's cool. That's really cool. And from the first test, it seems that it works. So like just take a look on that. That might give you some attention on this.
By the way, I saw that they updated something with split view, so now it'll be more easier to use. So they're going in the right direction.
Basically, they are simplifying the approaches here. So it's you're, instead of like having the like left pane, right pane, they basically say that this whole thing is the navigation part. So like you have a sidebar, you have, I don't know, something else, and you have the details. That all works, and moreover, these are mapped between the iOS or iPadOS to the macOS, and you almost don't need to change anything there. Like it works as SwiftUI should work there. That's actually a great thing, because there were a couple of things when you migrated your I don't know, iPadOS applications to the Mac, and you wanted to make it be more Mac rather than like just copy of your iPad app. Yeah. And it should be now working good. And again, the deprecation is there. You now need to switch to the new navigation styles, but keep in mind this all again covered only by the newer iOS and macOS releases. So that's a bummer.
So guys with iPhone 6, sorry.
Yeah, and there are a couple of iPhones which are now dropped in support with the new releases. Like you mentioned 6, and I believe the iPhone SE, original iPhone SE, is now will also not get the new iOS 16. Well, sad news.
But it's
but
mostly 10 years. No, not 10, but 8. So yeah, it's time, really.
It is.
Okay. Grid API. So looks like we get back to a nest table view, and we have something like this.
Yeah, and again, my main concern here is that they used word grid while we already had a lazy H grid and a lazy V grid, and they're different. Like they're significantly different in the way why they are designed. So yeah. I would prefer Apple selected something else, but probably there is no good word for that. So
maybe for this is okay, but probably they should rename existing grids to collections. So to match the collection view. And
that was the collection probably. And because we, like, for example, we have HTAG and we have lazy HTAG, and they are like, we basically understand that these are like similar things. And now we have grid and we have lazy vgrid, and like but okay, that's just like probably bad naming of the previous one, so that wasn't a grid. Apart from that, yes, there are a couple of things, and there are good sessions explaining what you can do with the new grids, how to properly design your code in order to make it happen. It's very I can say that those are quite simple in terms of how to use, how to align your code here and there. So the idea here is that you might align the column to the left. For example, you have labels and you have values one by one, and you want to right align, like trailing align one of the labels and like leading align the values there. Like, I don't know, you present some table with some information, and that was quite hard to implement previously, because you need to vertically align and you needed to horizontally align in the different parts, and that was like, you need to spend a lot of time making that happen. Or, for example, to make all the buttons having the same width, but as the longest button in the in your list. That was also like, you had to use a lot of stuff with the preferences and everything, and geometry readers. Now it's all done by the grid view. It's like really simple. Hopefully we will go by that time when we can really be using iOS 16 as the base version, and you will be able to use that quite easily in your projects. And like, grids was not the only part which helped with the layout. So now you have whole new layout protocol, and good thing, you can design your own layouts. And that's, by the way, they have a session on how to do that. It's not that easy as you would hope, but again, layouts are hard just by themselves. So it's not
an UI kit.
Yeah, so it's something you need to like invest your understanding there, your time and everything. But they explained how to do that, and if you subscribe to Swift Talk, the guys from Germany are doing a great job explaining that. They already have a session on how to use these layouts, so like you can take a look.
They had the same session before how to do this.
So yeah, they had the custom layout implemented previously, and now they're using the new one, and like just writing a couple of lines there.
It's time to call Chris again, I believe.
We can say that we actually had him on our podcast too. And we'll be able to get him back again.
And view that fits. So
that's
really interesting how it works.
So it actually, the great implementation of that layout, and the Swift Talk has an example of that. So this particular view that fits is the view which you can put like your H stack or V stack, depending on the width of your containers. And for example, on the larger fonts, like it could fit into H stack, but if you have for example, you increase the accessibility settings and your like device is smaller, then it automatically switches to the V stack. So it basically measures the provided size, and it asks its children, like, will they fit? And if not, they basically switch to another view. And there is an example how to do exactly that. So it's a simple view, but it's a good explanation on how these layouts work and how you can take leverage of that. Again, I expect that not every developer will be designing their own layouts, but what I expect is that there will be a lot of new libraries presenting some fancy layouts, which you can basically use adding this package to your project.
So it probably Apple will soon release their apps supporting landscape. Oh, finally! I'm really happy with this, because you using music in landscape.
Yeah, you don't. You don't. It's true. And especially if you haven't understand, and the speakers, if you're looking using music for the speakers, which you probably shouldn't be doing, but still, like you cover the speakers with your stand, so it's another problem. There is another thing which they added, which is the framework which is called core transferable. It's not fully related to Swift UI, but it's like a modern thing of implementing drag and drop and like basically the idea of how you can transfer your objects from your application to another application or to other parts in your application. Some of you might do remember there was an S item provider and everything. There were a couple of things happening here and there, and they were, well, not that easy to implement. Now you have framework which is called core transferable, and basically one transferable protocol which has only one method you need to implement it. By the way, it's not a method, it's a static property, which you need to provide your encoding for your transferable objects. For example, if you let's see what you implement note-taking applications, like you want to allow like taking notes in your app, and you have some specific class which holds the note. You can make it transferable, which means that that users will be able to drag and drop your note to other places. And your note is known by your application, and you can design how to properly encode it into the, I don't know, the note itself, some metadata and everything. But you probably also wanted to transfer if somebody drag and drops your note to other application, you probably want to just extract the rich text of the note there. So you can do that easily. You simply design all the transferable options for the different types, like UT type. You design your own UT type for your app, and you I don't know, use rich text format in order to allow your node to be exported to other applications. And they also provided a lot of predefined codable standards. So for example, if your object supports codable, then you're good to go with the codable encoding. If you have some property, like for example, in your node class has a property like a string which represents the text of your node, you can simply say that, and we have a proxy, like my node can be encoded by this text string, and you basically point to the property of your object. And strings already like have their own transferable implementation and so on. So just it simplifies the process of marking your data objects transferable between your apps and other apps. And that actually goes hand in hand with the another topic which we will not be covering, but the Apple did cover a lot. It's the desktop class iPad applications. So the idea of that running multiple applications on your iPad and the stage manager, which runs only on M1 iPads, and yeah, there is a lot of backlash happening on that in the development community. But the idea here is that you might have multiple windows open at the same time, and they can overlap, and you can drag and drop from one app to another. You need something to simplify these drag and drop interactions, and this transferable framework really does that.
Yeah, existing implementation Swift UI was a hell. I tried to use it. It's impossible. Okay, do you know how many items do we have in our list? More than we discussed.
Yeah, I'm taking a look. No, we are not be covering all of them. Let me still cover one thing on the Swift UI. I mean, this is huge. This is Swift charts, and
well, it's so big. It's only Swift UI framework. You cannot use it in UIKit applications. Done.
You can if you embed the UI hosting.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing is that charts are hard, and Apple did great job here for many things. I mean, they have a lot of stuff happening by default properly. Let's put it that way. That's a really big thing for the charts, because when you design the charts, you need to take care. Like if you will have many. I don't know, like if you use bar chart, what will happen if you have too many bars? Like you need to strip the labels by your own. And here, Apple does a lot of stuff like by default. You can customize as you wish, but if you don't want to and you don't want to spend too much time, it will handle a lot of stuff by default properly. And another thing, it fully supports accessibility, which, by the way, they introduced accessibility features for the charts before introducing the charts themselves. So, like, I don't know, audio charts, when you pitch of the sound changes when a user swipes through the chart. So you basically can show how the chart goes for the people with visual impairment. And it's, by the way, it just looks nice. you don't need any charts or... Well, yeah.
I believe there are a lot of animations and so on because it's Swift UI. Yeah. We miss something like this.
Now it's up to you. What topic will we cover before we are running out of time? Like it's, I see a lot of those happening here.
Okay, we can actually briefly talk about app intents. So,
I'm a huge proponent of Siri, by the way. Yeah, I really want more apps to support them. And from the initial SiriKit introduction to this moment, there were a lot of stuff happening in order to make your application being able to communicate with Siri. So first of all, you had an option, you had some system intents handling, like there are a couple of actions your app could do through Siri. Then
something like this.
Add a node or something like that. And it was terrible. I mean, I tried that, and there were a lot of stuff happening, like why it could not be working. Like there were a lot of limitations there. So they allowed custom intents, and that was good enough, but you cannot like have any interaction. So user needed to add that to the Siri and like say their own activation phrase, and there were no parameters there. So like again,
and then using the plist, monstrous plist to configure all this stuff. Oh hell, yeah. Apple, you love plist, I know.
So this time they said, okay, like we know that you are tired of all of this. Just write code. That's basically their idea. And app intents are handled
awesome
by your application. You don't need to create this intent definition file. There are a lot of other stuff you can add. And moreover, when you put your design your app intent, it will be added to Siri automatically. The only thing you need to say to the user in somewhere in your app is like basically, yeah, you actually can call this through Siri. You don't need to do anything about that. So you basically say this in order to activate like this through the Siri.
And these intense phrases, activation phrases, they are fully configurable through just a string with some interpolation stuff. That's really cool. And I really want to add some stuff into my applications just to check how it works.
Exactly. The problem here is that the only one limitation, it's not a problem, it's just a limitation. You need to add your application name into this phrase. And you have multiple phrases, by the way, which can trigger your action. So you can have like similar phrases which might be useful. So you don't have to implement only one phrase there, and you can have a parameter there. For example, if they showed an example like let's start a meditation, and you can like insert type of meditation as well, and so you can like
they have something like a protocol called epinum, where you can just describe a list of options with their translations. Pretty cool.
Exactly. So really cool framework. Still need to mention that if you use widgets with the configuration, you still need to fall back to that old intent definitions and so on. So maybe they will fix that later on.
16.1 or 2,
hopefully,
as usual. Okay, they talk a lot about passkeys. However, I took a look at like a session about this. Not so, but sounds amazing. But implementation, we used this standard WebAuthn for a while actually. So all these like hard keys, and also some websites could use your Face ID or Touch ID on Mac is your like a physical device which you can prove your identity. And I'm a little bit skeptical about this because before we used this stuff as a second factor, but now what they offer us this as a first factor.
Exactly. That's a tricky thing. And I would also like to mention that this makes a little bit of like ecosystem lock-in, because while this is open standard, the key itself is stored on your device and like basically in your iCloud account. It's shared through the iCloud. It's not stored in the iCloud. Let's put it that way. It uses iCloud to distribute your key to any new device. So they do not have your key in their possession, but it's stored in your secured area, so it's not it's encrypted and everything, but still, like you are locked to your ecosystem in order to get that particular key. They probably will be able to provide a way of migrating that, but it's still like it will be a complicated process. So you are now using your Apple ecosystem in order to log into some service.
But why you should export this data to somewhere? So you plan to buy some other phone? Okay,
exactly.
But we need to say that Google support this in their newest OS as well. So they have the same thing on their side, and of course, all browsers now support the WebAuthn, and this authorization through QR code looks really awesome. So impressive that they agreed finally after. But they had this example before with COVID tracking exposure API.
Yeah.
So finally they used this experience to make something together. I'm really happy that they worked together on this.
Fully agree. One another topic related to the private to the passkeys is the private access tokens, which is like basically removal of the captcha based on the algorithms happening on your device. So it's a way of trusting the user's device in order to make like this is the real user, and instead of forcing user to look for the, I don't know, like black cats on the dark background and everything's in between, or like decrypting what exactly those corrupted letters are displayed there.
If we are not able to help robots anymore, they will kill us later.
So basically, now it's happening by the servers of Apple and your phone. So your phone knows that you're a human or not for some reason. You can be worried now,
All these cloud like farmers, so they may think about this.
Yeah, and they basically there is a trusted provider, there is your phone, and they are communicating through that in order to ensure to the caller that this request is legitimate and it comes from the trusted device. So there is a user behind that particular device.
Okay, let's talk two more topics. You choose one, I choose the second. So what will be your choice?
That's really hard to tell. I will list the topics later on, just which you. But as of now, let me talk about another topic which is important, I think, and you as the developers might need to take care of that. So the lock screen. I mean, that's one of the key announcements there. You can now have widgets on your lock screen, and they are powered by the same widget kit as it was before. So it's like the same widget kit. If you tried that before, you can do new types of widgets which will be visible on the lock screen. And one thing there is that you can also use widget kit to make complications for the Apple Watch, because like essentially lock screen widgets and complications on the Apple Watch are basically the same thing. They are all even like calling them this almost the same interchangeably. So learn widget kit, and these new widgets on the lock screen, they might. I'm trying to express that as much as possible. This is the way of making your app visible for the user. Like each time they open the lock screen, they will see something from your app.
Always.
Yeah,
really, always.
Exactly. And we kind of expect that there might be always on display on the next iPhones. Maybe not this one, but like from that. And that probably might mean that your widget will also be there. Like, just think about that. Your widget always visible. Yeah. So this is not something complicated to implement. It's quite easy, and there are a couple of sessions there on how to do that. But just keep in mind that this might be something which you would like to try on your apps, because that's easy to implement, and that significantly increase visibility of your app for those who add that widget. That was my topic.
Okay, my topic will be the next. So WeatherKit. Finally, Dark Sky API is back. So finally, we have something like a trusted provider of weather data for our apps. And I'm so happy, because every time I need to think, okay, I need to show some weather data. I don't know if you're developing an event application or something related to place. you may want to, okay, I need to show some better just to make sure that my users are happy and they know what's going on site. Now you have an API for this, and as usual, it's now it supports async await, of course. Without this,
and it's cheaper than competition, significantly cheaper, like twice as cheaper.
Yeah, and you can trust, and of course you can trust them because Apple, as always, says us, okay, we use your location only for like understanding what weather to show you and nothing more. And I believe them, actually.
That's true. They explicitly said that multiple times that they are not using that to profile user, and they do not send any like matching, like where the user ID matches to that particular location or like anything else. And yeah, so you can use WeatherKit not just in the iOS applications. There is a web API as well, so you can use that in Android or like web services as well, and they all count to the single limit on your Apple development program. So WeatherKit is something which is really good addition to the ecosystem from Apple. I would agree.
Thanks, dark sky.
Yes, yes, exactly. It is actually dark sky. Yes, it's just good that it's not fully dead or like just locked to the Apple itself. So they expose that to the
their current weather application is really cool. I love it and provides a lot of data, and it's pretty fine always. So if it's sun outside, I know it's sun outside. But
let me do one thing. So please, guys who are still with us, just write your feelings about WWDC or your questions, and I will spend like 2 minutes reading, well, less than 2 minutes, reading all the topics which we didn't mention, but we written down for us internally. And I also wanted to mention here. So SharePlay improvements, it's now supported in messages. I will just go through that. You can take a look on the sessions. Shared with you API. I was really impressed with the share with you previous time, and now you can have that in your own app. So like if somebody sends you a link through the messages, it will automatically appear in the special section of your app if you design the application properly. And that's actually really good thing. I mean, like make the interaction with the messages. And also there is a collaboration between messages and your application. So you can use messages to invite users to collaborate on your applications. And yes, that's all basically, again, ecosystem lock-in, but it looks nice. And if you use Apple devices, it's really natural to use that. Next, live activities will not be available right now, but it's a widget, like live widget instead of push notification. For example, like the taxi getting to you or your order getting to you, or like, I don't know, scores of the game which you're monitoring, they will be live on your lock screen. It will be later this year. So like the API, they showed the API, but the feature will not be released, I believe, with the iOS 16. It will be released some later time. Hopefully
this is the second time when they announced something and released this later. It was the same with the SharePlay of the last year, as I remember.
Yeah. I mean, but they are now like announced that in advance. So it's like just don't count on live activities before sometime into the future. So it's
November.
Hopefully before New Year, hopefully. but the feature itself is just really cool. I mean, for if you develop the applications which has some updates and you don't want to spam users with the notifications, that's just the perfect implementation for you. Next, Stage Manager on Mac and iPad. As a developer, you have to do something, but not too much. But as a user, you will be impressed if you have iPad with an M1. That's good thing. Focus filter APIs. Again, insert your app to the filters of the applications. We have a question. Any updates on the API due to Stage Manager? There are a couple of those, but you don't need much of the attention here. It's
so if you support all this stuff that they introduced previously with the delegates and so I think it should be fine.
You need to switch to scenes. That's the main thing you need to do, and everything else will work by itself. Okay, the CarPlay. That was another topic I wanted to mention. The CarPlay is now they can put the CarPlay interface not to just one screen, but all of the screens of the car, and the car should support that basically. But the idea here is that you can even put your not your, but like CarPlay interface to the instrument cluster. So it can show your speed, I don't know, the RPMs or everything, and they have used their own gauges there. And there are people saying that might be meaning that they will be designing the Apple car, but probably not. They will just expand the Apple inside the car. And I'm not sure how car vendors will they be happy with that, because like if you buy, I don't know, like Ford or BMW or any other vendor, you still want to driver understand that it's their car, like vendor's car, not Apple's car. Because if you have all the screens showing something from Apple, that's maybe now Apple's car already, without even Apple building that particular car. So
they will have a separate complication for logo.
yeah, probably that's the only thing which we'll agree on. So it's like everything is Apple, but they will be like, no, it's still a Ford car. Like, just trust us. It's even if you see everything. So CarPlay updates are huge. We need to wait until these cars will arrive which support that. But as a user of CarPlay, I would say that it's a really great thing because like you really get used to it, especially if you are new to the place and you need maps. And by the way, Apple Maps are really good in some locations, let's put it that way. Especially, at least at my location, they are just perfect. So let's not argue about that right now. That's a huge topic for the discussions. But as of now, I mean, I'm really impressed with the maps themselves, the navigation part. I might have not enough information there, but the guidance on the road and how the maps are displaying something, that's just perfect.
We need to answer this question. No.
No. You can just display something something on the screens, but yeah.
Don't try to repeat this, please.
Yeah. Don't code and drive. That's bad practice. Okay, and the last thing, and that's two last things. Apple Pay Later, which is like nice wording, but again, will be available in select location, probably US only in the beginning, and basically a lot of vendors provide you with an option just to split your payment into like several payments. And interesting thing here, Apple will use their own finance entity for this particular thing. And another thing, which again, like Amazon will not support, but Apple Pay order tracking, which is like put your purchases into a wallet and you can monitor your orders within one single place from different merchants. That would be perfect. But
who cares about Amazon? I know.
Yeah, exactly. We are caring. Amazon doesn't support Apple Pay. Let's put it that way. So, and the last thing from my list is the AR, and especially their room plan API, when you can basically scan your room and it provides you with the very sophisticated map which we can use for the 3D modeling and everything. And that's actually good. They just iterating on top of previous API. So they had the ruler, like a measurement application, which you can measure the sizes. And now you can basically turn with your phones across your room and it measures everything and creates the room plan. That's nice. That's really nice. I needed
this half a year ago. Thanks, Apple. Yeah. Too slow.
Yeah, you will need to buy something new probably in order to use it.
Sure. Using Apple Pay
later. Yes. Okay, guys, thank you very much for coming here. That was really like we tried to cover. And yeah, by the way, this is not it with everything which was announced. It's which we selected. We even weren't able to discuss everything we wanted to here. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your feedback. And take some time to put your feedback somewhere so we can know what we can do better with our sessions on this. And again,
go on.
Just one shameless plug here again. The Apple Treats podcast will get back to business really soon. We hope to start this. Let's put that in words, and we will be accountable for that in July. We're getting back in July, and if you have any ideas on that, just let me know. If you don't know what the Apple Treats podcast is, just Google. I believe you will be able to find us at least on the first page, maybe not on the top, but somewhere there.
Yeah, I believe so. And if you want to discuss, if you want us to discuss some topics more in detail, just write us in comments, and we'll consider these as our topics for the next episode of Apple Treats.
Yeah, or maybe in a mobile people community reviews or anything. So thank you very much, guys. That was a pleasure talking with all of you, and have a great rest of your day and or night. We are global right now.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye.